Ali Velci, let's listen to this. This is about the people he have on the panel. So let's listen to the panel people he has on here describe the situation that Biden is in. Listen.
Well politically calculated, that would be one thing. But you have been hearing from people who are not saying, I'm going to just send a message to the Biden administration now. They're saying, I'm not going to vote for Biden in the coming election. And it's not just Arabs and Muslims. Right. It's progressives. It's young people. Yes. It's some black people. Yes. It's some Jewish people. Yes. So how do you see this going forward? Because none of those groups, while all of their concerns are valid, will think that the world is better under Donald Trump.
Right. And I would encourage those people to vote for Joe Biden.
Listen to this guy, what he says here.
But there's a limit to how far you can get by just hectoring people, right? The fact is that America makes it hard to vote. Right? We don't have, most countries have voting days on election day, or at least a weekend. Oftentimes in America, you have to stand for hours online, right? So you have to motivate people to vote, and not just
positively.
Vote. An effective campaign has people not going door to door, phone banking, enthusiasm. Joe Biden now cannot go on a college campus and do a rally because people are going to protest about Gaza.
Think about that. Joe Biden cannot go to a college campus because he will be definitely protested against. College campuses is where young people are and progressives. These are his large constituents. How can you campaign and do retail politics if you don't go to where your constituents, where your base is? And he also mentions black churches he can't go to because he get protested. I'm going to rewind it and let him finish the point.
How far you can get by just hectoring people, right? The fact is that America makes it hard to vote. Right? We don't have, most countries have voting days on election day, or at least a weekend. Oftentimes in America, you have to stand for hours online, right? So you have to motivate people to vote, and not just vote. An effective campaign has people not going door to door, phone banking, enthusiasm. Joe Biden now cannot go on a college campus and do a rally because people are going to protest about Gaza. Crazy. That's his base. That he can't go to a black church. This is a big problem. So yes, you can say to folks, listen, at the end of the day, you need to vote for Joe Biden, but Biden has to do his part. Their campaign has to listen to their base voters. I think they have played the politics of this as if
Biden has to do his part. This is not a one-way street. You want the people to come out. There has to be a give and take. And listen to what he further goes on to say.
To listen to their base voters. I think they have played the politics of this as if it's a decade or 2 decades ago. Things have changed inside the Democratic Party, and he has to listen to that change.
Dean, when you see, can one be enthusiastic about their support in November in defense of democracy against our descent into autocracy, despite the fact that you may never be able to bring yourself to really like Joe Biden because of his policies? Can you do those things? Can you knock on doors? Can you make phone calls? Can you raise money for a guy you may not be that into because the other
No,
option
you
is really
cannot.
bad?
No,
Look,
you cannot.
Donald Trump
and that's
is an
your
existential
problem.
threat to the Palestinian people. I say that as a Palestinian American. As we get closer to November, that'll be the argument to certain people in the swing states. Look, I know you didn't like what Biden did in Gaza. Who knows where we'll be in terms of policy? It's not rhetoric now. It's policy changes. In 8 months, things may have changed dramatically. It won't bring back any of the 30,000 who were killed, and 2/3 of them are women and children. But maybe then you can motivate people. Right now, it's about ceasefire. President Biden, he needs to have the fierce urgency of now that he wants a ceasefire. Stop vetoing UN resolutions that call for a ceasefire like we did last week. Of the 15 countries, the UN Security Council, we're the only one to vote no. We are alone now. We have isolated ourselves from our allies on this issue. This is wrong. And, Senator
Understand, the only reason they're even allowing this discourse on corporate media is because of the protest in the street. It's because of the people saying they won't vote for Joe Biden. It's because of the polling. So the pressure that people who are pro-Palestinian is doing is causing even this coverage to be allowed, even this take to be allowed. And don't jump on the gentleman you see on the screens bandwagon too long. He said he's Palestinian. He's Palestinian American, a whitewashed Palestinian American who is basically just a social democrat on the issue and won't go as far as to say he won't vote for Joe Biden, even though he's Palestinian. So no, thank you. With these, no.
Van Hollen 2 weeks ago on the floor said there are textbook war crimes going on at the hands of the Netanyahu administration. We should not be backing this at all. We should stop. Permanent ceasefire, the number one demand of the movement right now. Stopping of aid to Netanyahu, at least without conditions, in terms of military aid, and I think accountability for Netanyahu and Hamas. Both committed war crimes. Both should be tried at The Hague and prosecuted and put in jail.
Peter, Joe Biden,
Palestinians saying they should be. That's a Palestinian
has
American.
never really liked Benjamin Netanyahu. He made a bet at the beginning of this war that he would get some currency with him. He'd be able to have some, gas in the tank to influence him, and that has not turned out to be true. In fact, Netanyahu is actively running an election campaign, even though there's no election in Israel, saying that he's the only one who can stand up to Joe Biden.
Right.
What does Joe?
That is literally what is being said by Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel, running effectively a campaign, a genocidal campaign, saying I'm the only one that can stand up to Joe Biden. You can't make this. You can't, in my opinion, make this shit up. Let's go to this next part here. And this is I'm going to just briefly go to this article. This is from Al Jazeera. The larger point in this is that the policy that Joe Biden is facilitating, supporting, swallowing his public voice on is the policy in Israel that's going to get him, that's going to deliver a Donald Trump presidency. There's not enough vote shaming to get enough people to come out for you as you're committing a genocide. It's just not, it's not feasible. And we're seeing that with the numbers that are coming out in the polling. So this is an Al Jazeera article. I'm going to go ahead and go to the shortened version that I've already cut. And it says, Biden and company will be unable to resuscitate his fast eroding prospects among enlightened Americans who are motivated by one defining moral imperative to repudiate through their suffrage the complicit perpetrators of the deliberate wholesale destruction of Palestine and its desperate people. It is too late. The deep damage cannot be undone. Biden is no more interested in a ceasefire than Netanyahu and his rabid evangelical cabinet, which has made it plain that their goal is to obliterate Palestine and plot a second decisive Nakba. Just as lunatic is the suggestion that a muffled Biden is poised to withhold American purse and lethal munition to pressure Israel into bending to its fathom will to protect Palestinian civilians and enact his grand geostrategic plans to establish a two-state solution. All of it, every disingenuous ounce of it, is a familiar lie. Biden has not been and never will be a peacemaker. He is 100% proof warmonger practiced at backing U.S. invasion of sovereign countries after sovereign country and damn the disastrous human consequences. This article from Al Jazeera is completely destroying Joe Biden. And let's go on. Enlightened Americans won't be fooled again. We're not coming out in November. Some of these progressives, some of these young people, you're not going to be able to get them to come out for Joe Biden in November. You've lost them. Still, Biden and his surrogates believe that money will be their salvation from the genocidal quagmire they're making. After ordering his Queaslings, my apologies, diplomats, at the United Nations to veto any ceasefire resolution, Biden attended a lucrative fundraiser in Los Angeles, co-hosted by the billionaire honorary vice chairman of the Anti-Defamation League, Ham Sabah. I think that's how you say his name. Let's finish this last part. Prior to the up to 250,000 a plate FIA-TT, I don't even know what that is, Biden's gushing superfan described the president's steadfast support of Israel as pristine.